The history books often, not always, often have a way of straightening out the truth. It is now universally regarded that colonialism in Africa, as practiced by European countries, was a hideous thing. Well, do we notice colonialism under our own noses when you're in the middle of it? What's going on in Africa today, in part because of the involvement of a very powerful Iowa Republican donor, Board of Regents member, a lot of other hats he wears. What's happening now in Africa raises the specter of neo-colonialism. We'll talk about that with Anuradha Mittal of the Oakland Institute when we come back. And also, later in the program, Tim Schwab with Food and Water Watch will join us.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Najee's Mediterranean Grocery Store is a new business in the Drake neighborhood of Des Moines, featuring Middle Eastern products. Najee's offers a wide range of specialty foods at competitive prices, including hummus, falafel, tahini, pita bread, baklava, kosher, vegetarian foods, and Ethiopian injera bread. If you want to add unique ethnic flavors to your cooking, Najee's is the store for you. It's at 1133 42nd Street in Des Moines, just south of University Avenue. Stop by or call 255-3736 for more information. That's Najee's Mediterranean Grocery, 255-3736.
This is Dr. Holding of the Story County Veterinary Clinic. For 15 years, we have been spaying and neutering feral cat groups at affordable prices. Wild cats destroy game birds and songbirds. A single female cat can produce over 4,000 kittens in 7 years. The shelters are full, so unwanted kittens will be put to sleep. Your cats will stay home and stay healthy. Call us for all your dog and cat needs at the Story County Veterinary Clinic between Ames and Nevada on Highway 30, 1 mile east of Interstate 35, 515-232-8766.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Thank you, Brother Trucker. Great local band kicking the conversation off. We've got a lot planned this rest of the week, too, folks. Tomorrow, we're going to talk with Allison Fox. Allison is with American Prairie. This is an organization trying to establish a big bison reserve in Montana. And I'm still hoping to hear back from somebody at the refuge, the Prairie Refuge, just east of Des Moines. I'd love to hear their local input on the issue of prairie restoration, not without controversy. Also, Mandy Hillman with the birth activist, Iowa birth activist, will be joining us. And on Thursday, I'm very excited to have Bill McKibben on the program. Bill is an author and a longtime commentator on climate change. He's been ahead of the curve on that, and it will be good to have him with us on Thursday. Also Thursday, State Senator Rob Hogue and State Representative Dan Kelly joining us. And Friday, still kind of working out how that's going to come together, but I really want to talk about the vote on retaining Justice David Wiggins. This is amounting to a bit of a witch hunt, and we need to have a conversation about it. But today, I'm very excited to have two equally distinguished guests on the program with me. Anuradha Mittal joins us on the phone from Oakland, California. Anuradha, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Ed.
And you were just in Iowa recently?
I did have the privilege of being in Des Moines recently, thanks to Iowa CCI.
And you also had the privilege of being here during some of the best weather we've had all summer. So, but you're here in very, very serious business. And before we talk about that, give us a little bit of background on yourself and on the Oakland Institute, so folks here are familiar with what hat you wear.
Sure. I'm the executive director of Oakland, California-based policy think tank. We do research around social, environmental, economic issues that we believe impact our lives, and we need to have a fair debate and a democratic discussion around those issues.
Okay, and I understand that you first were asked by the leaders of the corporation we know as Agrosol to weigh in on their proposed, basically, resettlement of a bunch of refugees. I know that wasn't their job to do that. That was the government's job. But in the end, they were going to be the folks benefiting from the resettlement and the acquisition through very, very low rent of about 800,000 acres of land in Tanzania. your group, I think, is probably I think it's safe to say, between what you've done and what Dan Rather and what local people in Ames have done and CCI have exposed that this is a bad idea for the people of Tanzania.
Sure, Ed, it was last January in 2011 when I came to know of the project, which is known as AgriSol Energy Project in Tanzania. As I mentioned, we are a policy think tank that works on social, economic, environmental issues. That means food and agriculture tend to be very high in our priority. We also believe that agriculture has been ignored and no resources have gone into it, especially in third world countries. So we are glad to see this renewed focus on agriculture.
Right.
And we have been trying to look for the kind of investments that would really provide benefits to national economies, to communities on the ground.
Right.
So it is a win-win for all. So it was in the course of that I came to know about AgriSol Energy, met with the key principals of the project, including Mr. Rastetter and Eric Peterson, and also the head of private equity fund that was involved in raising capital for it, Pharaoh's Fund. Mm-hmm. And I got to spend 2 days in Ames in April 2011, right, following which they sent the business plans and the rest. And when we did our due diligence, what we actually found was that the land which was being called abandoned lands, unused lands, were actually home to over 162,000 people. Mm. Mm-hmm. And in fact, the papers were demonstrating that they were demanding, one of the prerequisites for their so-called investment in the area was to demand that the Tanzanian government ensures that the evacuation, removal of these people is ensured. And then there were other issues, of course, the price of land.
Right.
We pay much more for coffee.
Like 25 cents an acre? Is that what I heard?
Well, there is rent that you pay in addition to paying this council fee. So actually it comes for slightly less than 50 cents per acre. But
still a pretty good deal.
Well, definitely. You would be paying, anywhere from $14,000 to $16,000 per acre for the same quality of land in the Midwest.
Wow. Yeah, so, I mean, it's interesting that you were actually invited on board as somebody who was prospectively in the minds of the investors supporting this, but again, as you said, in your due diligence, came down on the other side. And I've come to see this in my worldview. This looks an awful lot like colonialism, the same type of colonialism that we now universally criticize as having messed up Africa for a couple hundred years. Is that too harsh of a term to describe what's going on? Again, not just in this country, not just in Tanzania, but in other African countries as well.
Well, in the course of our research, we have looked at over 70 land deals in different African nations.
70,
and
wow.
And some people, basically, when they look at our research, have called this phenomena or trend, they've described it as colonization. But what our research is showing is that foreign investors, in the name of bringing development, are actually going into regions where they're taking over resources. We are talking about land. We're talking about what grows on that land. It could be primary forest. It could be rainforest. They control what is underneath the land, and they control water. They're asking for complete water rights. They're asking for all kind of incentives, such as not paying import duties, not paying corporate taxes, not paying profit taxes. They get to pay, as you mentioned in the case of AgriSol, less than 50 cents per acre. They have a 99-year lease. When you basically round up all of that, they don't have to make any commitments in terms of how they will respect the environment, what kind of jobs they provide. I have to say that people who have called it that it reeks of colonization, that you take it, that this taking of Africa is fine, something that you and I would not agree to if, say, a bunch of Chinese investors were to come to Iowa and take over the land under the same conditions.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It does reek of colonization.
Mm-hmm. So there are 70 different such projects that your organization is monitoring. Is that what I heard correctly?
Well, no, it was last year. We looked at over 70 deals, and this year we have continued the work. So we are looking at whether it's instances in Cameroon and places such as Guinea. We see this as a real trend, a land rush that is being witnessed, which is really driven by, on one hand, volatility of market prices, and secondly, it's like the next housing bubble. They're creating this speculative bubble around the land prices.
Now, I understand why somebody like Bruce Rastetter, who is incredibly wealthy and very powerful here in Iowa, I understand why he would want to look at cheap land in Africa to further his wealth and power. I understand why other similarly well-positioned corporate agribusiness leaders would do that. But why would a country, why would Tanzania or any country, Cameroon, Guinea, why would these countries welcome that type of investment? I'm putting investments in quotes right now. Why would they invite that into their country?
You know, Ed, that's a brilliant question, and we get that a lot. Well, you also have to understand that there has been a lot of push from donor countries. There's been a lot of push from international financial institutions such as the World Bank Group, which is advising third world countries, especially in Africa, that they can't just expect aid, that given that there's a need for capital, they need to become more attractive to investors. And that is really based on basically get rid of all kind of regulations, your environmental regulations, your labor regulations, bend over backwards. But the problem is that when you actually start doing the math, it is a false recipe that has been provided for development to these countries.
Yeah, and
if you look at all...
Yeah, it's already happening. It's been happening for a long time. This is just kind of a new wave with a new angle.
Well, what has really happened, our research showed, is that this really push came starting in the 90s and mid-90s, that there's no time for your policies that protect your land. Basically, all the policies that we have in European countries, in the U.S., our suggestions to African nations have been do as we say, not as we do, forcing open their markets, forcing open, making land marketable. And, you know, it's very interesting we found, whether it's Ethiopia, whether it's Tanzania or Mozambique, they have all these investment centers. They might be called by different names, but their mission, word by word, is identical. That language has been crafted by the World Bank institutions. And then on the other hand, you also have technocrats. I mean, each of these countries who are coming in, you know, educated very often in the Western world, totally disconnected from agriculture. And they feel the best way to do is to sell off the country's resources. And, of course, then the people who are getting the pockets greased. I mean, you know, they're sweetheart deals as well.
Folks, we're talking with Anuradha Mittal with the Oakland Institute about the Agrisol, we're going to call it a land grab in Tanzania. If you'd like to join the conversation, 244-0077, 244-0077, or toll free, it's 855-244-0077. And just to give you an idea where this conversation is going to go during the course of this program, later in the program, Tim Schwab with Food and Water Watch will join us. I do want to process the ethics complaint that CCI filed, and you came at CCI's invitation and were part of that conversation as well. I do want to kind of process that, but my main goal, I want to understand this better. I want my audience to get have a better grasp of the problem and the motivations behind it. But I really want to talk about where we go from here, what we can do next, and so hang on to that thought, Anuradha, because I do want to finish the previous conversation too. I asked about what would motivate leaders of these countries to do this. And basically you're saying there's a lot of pressure from the World Bank, it sounds like, probably from other nations such as ours, to open up the door to investment with the marketing. I mean, it sounds like the marketing on this is, if you really want your country to pull out of poverty, if you really want to not be a third world country, be like us. You've got to open up the doors to more and more, well-funded investments. Is that kind of...
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, and which is a bit of a joke, because if you look at the Asian tigers, or if you look at how agriculture was developed initially in the U.S. or in European countries, it was through very heavy government involvement and protecting it. But in the case of other countries, developing nations, even recently at the G8 summit where President Obama is emphasizing that there's a need for public-private partnership and basically opens up the whole of Africa to the likes of Monsanto's, it makes the populations and governments very vulnerable. But also I want to highlight one thing before we get caught up in if these deals were so great, if they're so wonderful and actually bring the benefits, let's take the case of Agrisol when we exposed it, the Oakland Institute, in June 2011. That's the first time the world was hearing about the largest land deal in Tanzania. Following our information, when Dan Rather team went into Tanzania and explored the issue, we found people didn't even know about it.
People in Tanzania didn't even know about it.
People in Tanzania didn't know. The so-called villagers who are supposed to benefit from this, they hadn't heard about it. The people who are being forcibly relocated, they didn't know that they were leaving their homes so this U.S. foreign investor could come in. So if these deals are so great, how come the governance, how come democracy around that is collapsing? And let me also just point out, it's almost like a Dracula. The minute we brought it out into the sunlight, it had no place to hide, it had no place to run. So they were hoping to break ground last year. The deal is still stalled. They have started at 35,000 acres of land. But where, Katumba and Mishamo, on their website, they have said that they have delayed their plans for implementation because the relocation of the refugees, people who have lived there for over 40 years, has been delayed.
Right.
Not once has Agrisol come out, despite public pressure, despite a university that was giving it credibility, withdrawing from the deal. They still haven't said that, you know what, that was a bad idea, we made a mistake.
Right, and I don't think you'll see that. Well, we can't even get Iowa State University, the state university you mentioned that pulled out. We can't even get them to mention, to admit that their involvement was a bad idea. They have almost a gag order, and I'd like to see the legislative delegation from Story County put some pressure on university officials next year. If they've got to go through the legislative process to do it, so be it. But it is unconscionable to me that a public university funded largely by tax dollars. I don't want to ignore the fact that Bruce Rastetter has contributed $2 million to the Ag College, but still funded largely by tax dollars. It's unconscionable to me that they are able to plead the fifth on how our resources have been spent. So maybe it takes a little bit of a push from the local legislative delegation to get something done. I don't know, but
oh, totally. I mean, I think, Ed, it's kind of would be very naive of us to expect that just because there are laws, they would be followed, right? So
Right.
I think it really depends on people's power, and I think it is really the mobilization of students, it is the mobilization of media, and ordinary people like yourself and myself.
oh, I didn't think we were that ordinary.
That has really brought these issues into the limelight. And I think we have to continue doing that. Democracy is never easily won, as we all know.
Yes, very much true. Hey, you mentioned you mentioned Count Dracula, and I kind of like the Dracula comparison here. Driving a stake through the heart. That certainly has not been accomplished. Agrisol has already acquired 35,000 acres. That's a small amount of the 800,000 they want to acquire. There have been some refugees already removed from the land, already relocated elsewhere. There are another 162,000 that could potentially be evicted. So even though we have not driven a stake through this Dracula's heart, it has been exposed, and there's some squirming going on. Mm-hmm. And I do want to talk about next steps. I think that's important. But let's look at the recent action. Iowa Citizens for Community Improvement initiated an ethics complaint against Bruce Rastetter, alleging a conflict of interest because of his role on the Board of Regents and his ability to access university resources to further a private cause for his own personal financial development. And that ethics, we didn't know how that was going to go. Mm-hmm. Truthfully, having seen plenty of ethics complaints filed in my time, they usually don't go well for the person filing them because the boards the boards are appointed by the most powerful political leaders in the state, and they tend to want to defer. The members tend to want to defer to the power establishment. So I'm not surprised it didn't turn out the way we wanted to. But do you see value in what has transpired through the course of that ethics complaint?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Ed, we are talking about someone, Bruce Rastetter. When I was provided information about the project in January 2011, we clearly have documents that list and add to the credibility of this proposal or this proposed project that Bruce Rastetter is on the Board of Regents. When I was in Ames, the presentations made by professors and deans of ISU were to gain credibility and legitimacy of the project. Let me not forget to mention, these are individuals who had done site trips on behalf of Agrisol. These people were very familiar of the fact that there are people living on this land that they were planning to supposedly develop. Mm-hmm. So, it is pretty shocking. So are we going to say that the complaint was useless? No. I think it actually exposed, and as you said, I think the one who has really been marginalized is the Ethics Commission because it has failed to actually fulfill its own mandate. Right. But we have won a lot of victories. Let's not forget that. First of all, just public education. This deal, which was hiding in the darkness of its lies and deceit, is now exposed. Mm-hmm. 2, Agrisol themselves are saying that we are not going to go after the 800,000 acres of land. We are focused on a 35,000 acres of land.
Right.
Third, Mr. Rastetter, in filing his financial filings, he had claimed initially that he's a self-employed farmer.
Right.
And a week before the Ethics Commission met, he was declaring that he's the CEO of Summit Farms, that also oversees Agrisol, that he's an advisor to the Rural American Fund. So it has all happened because of Iowa citizens of community improvement who were courageous enough to call out when something is wrong that it's wrong. And it is unfortunate that the Ethics Commission has no mandate and has no ability to fulfill its mandate, which is to ensure that the ethics and principles of Iowa State are actually ensured.
Yeah. And again, I don't, to me, I do see a lot of value in that ethics complaint having been filed. I think most of the public dialogue on that has been very favorable. We have seen some of the powers push back. There have been leaders in the media who are very sympathetic to corporate agriculture, very sympathetic to Bruce Rastetter, who have come out, taken his side, criticized the ethics complaint, supported the ethics board's ruling. But overall, I think it has done an excellent job at elevating public awareness of the problem and of generating more conversation about it. Here's my thought right now. Well, go ahead.
Ed,
go ahead.
If I could just say,
Yes.
it is very interesting that it's only in this country that media assumes the role of making news rather than reporting. So it is interesting that some of the media interests have been trying to shape how we should think about it. And as you said, the public opinion has been elsewhere rather than to report on it.
Right.
So there are people, and there was a colleague in Tanzania who pointed out, in fact, U.S. is the only country where people feel the need for alternative media. Now let's go figure why is it that this country needs alternative media.
Right. And I have no trouble. I mean, there is an opinion page, and the editorial board of a newspaper, for example, has a right to have an opinion, but don't let it creep into the news section. And that happens way too often across the board in the mainstream media. But let me ask you this. My feeling at this point is, okay, Bruce Rastetter was sent a lesson in this whole conversation about the ethics complaint. But right now, his role on the regions, I say let that drop. Let's get back to the focus on trying to prevent his corporation from any further incursions in Tanzania. And if possible, is it too late to try to kind of claw back that 35,000 acres that he's already been given?
Well, there are two things. One is we are looking into those 35,000 acres. So let me put Agrisol Energy on notice that we are looking into that and what happened to the people who lived there and how they were resettled. Secondly, our new report, Lives on Hold, actually shows that while Agrisol might say that they have delayed their plans and they're waiting, people's lives have been put on hold, where people in Katumba are told that they cannot grow new crops, that they cannot build new houses, basically putting them in a situation where they agree to move.
Well, how are they not allowed to grow crops? I mean, if they can't grow crops, these are subsistence farmers. If they can't grow crops, they don't eat.
Well, what's happened is that the residents we're talking about, despite being on that piece of land for over 40 years, the fact that most of them were born there are still termed as refugees because they came from Burundi following the war in the civil war in the 70s. They have been there. Majority of them have been born in Tanzania. The government, while it started negotiations with Agrisol, amidst much, international fanfare, declared that they would be naturalized and made citizens. So they have been naturalized, and yet the citizenship papers are being held, and they have been told they can have the citizenship papers once they agree to move and they, destroy their own homes. So Agrisol can move in, and the government will decide where they will go and live.
Well, it seems like maybe there's
this community.
Maybe there's a way to bring further pressure on Bruce Rastetter here in Iowa. I don't know, but perhaps there's a way that we could convince the Tanzanian government to back out. Is that not within the realm of the possible?
Well, I think really the campaign has to be about not just getting him off the board of regions, but given the fact that he knew and was hoping to benefit from that land, should actually be involved in conversation with the Tanzanian government as to how these people are resettled.
Well, again,
when the citizenship papers are given, what kind of compensation is provided to them if the government is bent upon moving them out. And if that does not happen, UNHCR the UN agency which is responsible for refugee affairs, which calls this, their landmark project that former refugees are now becoming citizens. Donor countries that have provided money to the Tanzanian government for this transition, we will hold all of them accountable because they knew very well what was happening, not just to 500 or 5,000 people, as I said, over 160,000 people. So as long as we are watching, as long as the world is watching with us, and that research can continue to mobilize as the people of Iowa did, I think there is hope.
Okay, yeah,
so
and again, I
just walk away from it.
To be clear, make sure to see we're on the same page here. I'm saying that right now at this point, I'm not so much interested in continuing to pursue whether Bruce Rastetter is, has a conflict of interest to serve on the border regions. I'm saying, okay, point made. I think we want a moral victory. CCI certainly gets credit for that. But now move on to the other pressure points where we might be able to make a difference. And again, the fact that you are monitoring and you're doing more research into that 35,000 acres, that to me is very encouraging. Maybe there's some things we can offer the Tanzanian government or the people in that area. Maybe there's some actual help we could provide. We meaning Iowans who aren't trying to go there to make a buck, but who actually care about justice and poverty and sustainable development. Maybe there's something we can do.
Iowans are doing it. I mean, what people of Tanzania, like any other country, want is real space for national discussions and free, prior, informed consent. That they have a say in their own, what happens to their lives.
Right.
And instead of foreign investors determining, as I said, if some Chinese investors or Indian investors were headed to Iowa, you would have city council meetings.
Heck, we don't even like it when New Yorkers come out here and buy our land.
There you go. So given that, what people of Iowa can do is to push for that space that the Tanzanian government allows.
Right.
For the communities who will be impacted, for civil society to start drafting their own policies. What kind of investment they really want, what kind of agriculture they want. Because right now we're breathing down their necks without allowing them that space and calling all of this investment without providing the proof that it's all going to be good for the people.
Yeah.
There is no proof. There's nothing in writing that shows. There are no numbers to back their claims that it would improve food security. It would be good for the people of Tanzania and good for the environment.
Anuradha, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck with your work.
Thank you very much. And if people want to learn more about our work and about land deals in Africa, please visit our website, oaklandinstitute.org, or follow us on Facebook.
oaklandinstitute.org. Folks, Anuradha Mittal and her organization doing some excellent research, helping people that otherwise would probably, most of us probably would not have even known about, despite the powerful influence that one Iowan is exerting in that country. Anuradha, best of luck. Folks, when we come back, Tim Schwab with Food and Water Watch will be our guest. I want to thank all of our sponsors, the Progressive Coalition of Central Iowa, the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club, and Physicians for Social Responsibility. I want to thank Tim Reynolds with Reynolds Energy Solutions. I'm going to be getting together with Tim later. We're discussing next steps in trying to promote a great service he has. He does energy audits. He'll come into your home, assess where you're losing energy, where you're wasting money, and tell you how to fix that up. In the end, it'll cost you nothing to have that audit done, and the work that he might, the improvements you could make could save you, again, a bundle of money and lower your carbon footprint. So, again, thank you to Tim for helping to support this program, and folks, you should go out and request one of those audits. It's a good time to do that with winter just around the corner. ReynoldsEnergySolutions.com is the website. Check it out and tell him you heard about his support for the Fallon Forum and appreciate that. We'll be back in a few minutes on the Fallon Forum.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Open Sesame is Des Moines' premier Lebanese cafe. This month, Open Sesame is offering an unbeatable lunch special on Monday and Tuesdays. Mention the Fallon Forum when you order anything on Open Sesame's delicious lunch menu and get the second item for half price. That's right, buy one, get one for half price. Open Sesame's pita wraps, salads, soup, and mouth-watering Mideastern specialties will have you and your dining partner coming back again and again. Open Sesame at 313 East Locust Street in Des Moines' historic East Village.
Times are tough, and most people are just trying to make their cars last a little bit longer. That's why you should know about Sargent's Garage in Des Moines. you can trust Sargent's to make the right diagnosis and give you a fair price. Whether it's a routine oil change or a major repair, Sargent's always does outstanding work. So don't give up on that old car just yet. Call Sargent's Garage at 246-8149. That's 246-8149 for Sargent's Garage.
Community CPA is the 15th largest CPA firm in Iowa, providing audit, tax, and accounting services. Community CPA specializes in international tax treaty and double taxation avoidance among countries and states. 9 dedicated, experienced, hardworking staff are the company's foundation, and their compassion towards every client is the secret behind Community CPA's success. At Community CPA, you can expect quality service year-round. Call 288-3188. Community CPA, 3816 Ingersoll. Experience the difference.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker-owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
Hi, I'm J. Michael McCoy, and about 20 years ago, I went to a used car salesman by the name of John Hewitt. He had a little shop over there on North 2nd Avenue called John's Auto Sales, and I bought a car. I found that experience to be one that I had never had before from a used car salesman. He was honest, he was dependable, he had integrity, and he did what he said he was going to do. Well, over the years, between my kids and grandkids, I purchased 7 vehicles from John's Auto Sales. And last month, I asked him to be a sponsor. And he said not only would he like to be a sponsor, but he would offer a $100 tithe for every customer that came and bought a car from him directly to the church of your choice. I can tell you about their huge selection. I can tell you about their years of experience. I can tell you about their honest integrity. But all I really need to tell you is that I bought 7 cars, and you can trust them. John's Auto Sales, 5435 2nd Avenue, Des Moines.
You need a good ride when you hit the trail. Trust the man with the cars, and he goes by the name of Big John. Big John. Big John.
There is hope. Visit groundwire.net and chat now with a live coach for answers.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Thank you, neighbors. We are back to the conversation about Agrisol. Colonialism, Iowa style. What has one big corporate ag leader here in Iowa planned to do with 800,000 acres in Tanzania? Well, he's already got a hold of 35,000 of them, and that may be, we may have put the kibosh on the rest. Some phenomenal citizen activism, not just in this state, but with the Oakland Institute and with other folks from around the country, have really helped bring to light what's been going on and why this is a bad idea, why it is wrong, why it is an injustice, and why we need to be concerned in doing something about it. My next guest is Tim Schwab. Tim, welcome to the program. Tim is with Food and Water Watch. Tim, are you with us?
I am. Thanks a lot for having me on, Ed. I appreciate it.
Yeah, where are we calling you from?
I am in Washington, D.C.
Is that where you work out of?
I work out of the Washington, D.C. office of Food and Water Watch. We do have an organizer on the ground in Iowa also.
Sure,
though.
Matt Olaf.
Yep.
I've known Matt a long time. Are you from Washington area originally, or?
No, I'm from downstate Illinois. Probably not so far from where you're broadcasting today.
Okay, downstate. That's almost the deep south, isn't it?
Yeah. If you look at the back of the quarter for Illinois, it would appear that way.
Yeah. If you remember Paul Simon's campaign for president, he referred to himself. He says, "I'm a Southerner too,"
right?
Which was a bit of a stretch by a lot of us, to a lot of us. But anyway, on to other subjects. You are familiar with the situation in Tanzania.
Yeah, we got involved in this. We did a long report that we released this spring about land-grant universities that looked closely at Iowa State University, and it looked at the growing influence of corporate funding from groups like Monsanto and Pioneer Hybrid and Bruce Rastetter, and the kind of distorting and corrupting influence that can have on agricultural research at our land-grant institutions. And after we released that, there was more and more publicity. There was really a robust debate that kind of emerged in Iowa around Bruce Rastetter, which really honed in on this exact issue that we've been working on. So we teamed up with Iowa CCI and our organizer Matt Olaf there, and we started looking closely at the Agrosol deal.
Yeah, and you would probably concur too that the ethics complaint was success. I mean, the ruling didn't turn out how we wanted it to, but it was successful. Here we go at exposing the connections and furthering the conversation about the intent of Agrosol in Africa.
Yeah, it definitely did, and as Oakland Institute just mentioned, it also compelled Bruce Rastetter a week before that hearing to really radically expand his disclosure form and talk about the investments that he has. And it's a much more fair characterization out there in the public of what he does for a living. Yeah. And, and what he is, he's a businessman. He's not a farmer.
Yeah.
He's an investor.
That was almost an insult for him to list himself as a farmer.
Yeah.
An insult on a number of levels. But yeah, so that was exposed. My thought at this point, I've been saying this, my thought at this point is that, okay, ISU has backed out. Good. As much as I'd like to really pressure Iowa State University to talk more about their involvement, they're tight-lipped. Maybe somebody in their legislative delegation in Story County can have some influence there, but that's kind of secondary. The fact that Rastetter remains on the Board of Regents is secondary. It'd be nice if we could have got him off, but it's secondary. The real problem right now is how do we continue to prevent Agrosol from further expanding their holdings in Tanzania, and what can we do, if possible, to get them to release that 35,000 acres they basically have been gifted?
Yeah, it's tricky, Ed, and I think part of the reason it's so tricky is really a lack of transparency. You mentioned the hard work of so many citizen groups out there like Oakland Institute and Iowa CCI who've really uncovered a lot of information. There's some really outstanding journalists in Iowa, too, who are bringing a lot of these issues to light. But, we just got a whole batch of documents back from the USDA just a couple days ago and released a press release today with Iowa CCI. And, you said Iowa State has backed out of the project. Well, they formally backed out of the project, but they still have professors acting as consultants on the project. And
even now, they still do.
I don't know about now, but the documents we got from the USDA, and maybe you're going to get to this, Ed. I didn't want to jump the gun here.
Go ahead.
So Agrosol applied for $7 million in government funding and taxpayer money from the USDA to participate in a program called Food for Progress.
Right. Yeah, see the release. Yep.
Yeah, this is the food aid program. And we FOIA'd all the documents from the USDA and got them back and found that ISU's name was all over those documents. And it appears USDA really thought, or probably a rational person at USDA would have thought that ISU continued to be a partner in this.
So this is a new wrinkle as of today.
Yeah.
Really?
Brand new wrinkle.
Okay. And again, to sum it up again, ISU was the entity that applied for the $7 million in U.S. government money, U.S. government funding for food. How do you describe it again? Food development?
It's called Food for Progress.
Food for Progress.
Humanitarian sort of program, an agricultural program through the United States Department of Agriculture.
Yeah. And so how did Rastetter and Agrosol relate to that request by Iowa State University?
Agrosol and Iowa State were teaming up on the application into about September of last year. Then ISU formally removed itself from the project and said it was no longer going to participate, and it cited its conflict of interest concerns over Rastetter being a regent. However, almost seamlessly, just weeks after ISU formally removed itself, you see two ISU professors appearing on emails with the USDA. You've got an ISU professor using his email, his ISU official email, consulting with the USDA, submitting documents to the USDA, personally meeting with the USDA on behalf of Agrosol to discuss the application. So, again, we have to ask ourselves, has ISU really removed itself from the project?
Right. So timeline-wise, ISU, through public pressure, removes itself from the Agrosol project, and yet 2 weeks later, two professors within the Ag College, maybe they argue they're on their own dime, but they're using their Iowa State University email account.
One of them is, yes.
One of them is, are pushing for this $7 million USDA grant that clearly would dovetail, precisely with what Agrosol is trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of Agrosol's whole project that they're trying to get off the ground in Tanzania. I mean, it raises a whole welter of questions. I mean, not just about ISU's role, but also just about, what is Agrosol thinking that they are going to try and get $7 million of taxpayer dollars to split the bill for their project in Tanzania.
So what is the next step? I mean, is there a hook to hang another ethics investigation on here?
Well, that's a really good question, Ed, because this comes just days after the ethics board decided that they don't want to look into this. I really think, are we going to leave it up to community groups and journalists to really uncover this story, or, is it time to have a full investigation?
So what does a full investigation look like?
I don't know. I mean, maybe the ethics board could take another look at this. I know the Board of Regents my understanding is the Board of Regents has its own ethics body and ethics conflict of interest and ethics policy, which is separate and slightly different from that governing the whole state.
I'd like to pursue this a little bit more, Tim. Can you stick around for the final segment of this program?
Sure.
Great. Folks, if you want to join the conversation with Tim Schwab with Food and Water Watch and myself, Ed Fallon, it's 244-0077. We're digging in a little bit more deeply to the Agrosol colonial, I call it the colonialism Iowa style, the land grab in Tanzania. A new wrinkle in this situation with the discovery of ISU professors being involved with the relationship with Agrosol after Iowa State University officially said it was backing out. We'll talk with Tim more when we come back on the Fallon Forum.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Well, good morning. This is the 7th of June in the Lord's year 2010, and this is day 1 of WebcastOneLive.com. We will begin with Max World Live with my special guest, Tom Coates. In just a minute, there's Tom. Wait. Howdy. And we will be live for the very first time on Webcast One Live. Someday we're going to look back on this and say, gosh, remember that old day in history? Wonder where Walter Cronkite was. He must have been around hanging there too. But actually, it's the beginning of Webcast One Live, and thank you for listening. Thanks, Rob Spearman, and everybody who's put together this project together, and we're ready to go live now. So thanks for listening to MaxWorldLive.com.
I can't tell you that it's going real well from time to time, but it is going.
If your computer's not running up to speed, don't waste any time with 1-800 numbers. Call your local professional at Mid-Iowa Computers. Known for excellent customer service, they can help you with all your computer needs, including 100% electronic malware removal. If you've just had enough of your computer or other electronic device, bring it in to Mid-Iowa Computers and they'll recycle it for free. For more information, visit midiowacomputers.com or call 515-210-8536 and get your computer fixed by someone you can trust.
Nestled in the heart of downtown, Ritual Cafe is one of Des Moines' most unique places, offering a wide variety of coffee and tea. Ritual Cafe also serves the only all-vegetarian menu in town And Ritual Cafe is a cultural hub for artists and musicians, with a performance stage hosting local, national, and international talent. Make Ritual Cafe a part of your daily ritual. On 13th Street between Locust and Grand in downtown Des Moines. And check out ritualcafe.com.
With warm weather finally here, it's time to think about upgrading the efficiency of your furnace and air conditioner. Leonard Tinker Heating and Cooling has provided honest, competent service for over 20 years. Whether it's your home or business, for repair work or to install a more energy-efficient furnace or air conditioner, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422. That's 263-0422. For honest, competent heating and cooling service, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422.
Ludwig van Beethoven here. I used to be so tired all the time, not from composing and playing, but from moving my piano. But now I feel so much better. I call S&P Piano, and they will bring my piano anywhere. They also sell and rent pianos, used ones, new ones. You get the idea.
Call S&P Piano right away at 208-6453. That's 208-6453.
S&P Piano.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hey folks, we are back to the conversation here. Oh, that's Pumptown. The Hanick family. They are so dang talented. It's like a brother, two sisters, dad. The mom jumps in. Amazing family from Ringgold County. I want to thank some of our other business supporters as well. Gateway Market. I bought brown cow yogurt and granola from there and had a heck of a breakfast this morning, combined with peaches and apples from a neighbor's tree, no, two different trees, one for peach, one for apple. It was awesome. I am looking forward to stopping by at Gateway later this week and replenishing my dairy products. I mean, I don't need a lot of vegetables because I raise all those, and I raise my own eggs, obviously, and you should too. Everybody must own chickens. But Gateway Market, again, a lot of stuff from local farms, including local eggs, including picket fence dairy, and this time of the year, lots of vegetables as well. So definitely check out Gateway Market. Also, they've got a catering service, and they got that amazing cafe with outdoor seating. That cafe is always humming because the food is really good. So check out Gateway Market at Woodland and ML King in the Sherman Hill neighborhood. Back to our conversation. Tim Schwab is with us. A little bit of a new light on the Agrosol situation, the colonialism Iowa style in Tanzania. Tim, so again, I want to keep the pressure on, and I know a lot of people feel that way. We've got Iowa State University to back out. We've exposed the deal. I mean, again, Oakland Institute is the one that kicked this off, but CCI and Occupy Ames, Occupy Iowa State University, a lot of other groups have done an excellent job, and your group as well, the Food and Water Watch. We need to keep the pressure on. Because, again, as Anuradha pointed out, this isn't just happening in Tanzania. It's happening all over Africa. And there are corporations and heads of agribusiness corporations from all over the U.S. and probably some other parts of the world who are engaging in this new style of colonialism. And if we can continue to, raise public awareness for the one that we have influence on here in Iowa, and that's this one in Tanzania, if we can continue to have an impact there and get Rastetter to back out, altogether, that would be a huge victory. Again, tell me, where do you see this going? Is total victory in this, if I can call it that, is that something we can realistically expect to accomplish?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, all I can say is that it does seem like every few weeks there's a new news story or a new set of documents that are released. We posted on our website a good chunk of the documents. We received more than 200 pages from the USDA, and it shows in a pretty damning manner, like they're touting their affiliations with ISU, with Monsanto, with Pioneer Hybrid, talking about how this project's going to help people in Tanzania, and really kind of blithely glossing over the fact that they're there to make money.
Yeah.
those documents are available on our website, www.foodandwaterwatch.org. I mean, all I can say is, I mean, it seems like the pressure is, I mean, we do keep putting the pressure on because we're getting all these new documents out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, and I don't know, you know, I mean, again, the more we can do to make Rastetter feel the heat, I think that makes sense, but I don't know whether, you know, Branstad, it would take an action by Branstad to get him off the Board of Regents, and they are so tight, that's not going to happen. So how do we continue to make him feel the heat? I mean, again, what you're talking about today is good. You know, is it, again, I see it almost as villainous, what's going on. I mean, Anurada compared it to, you know, Dracula. And again, Bruce Rastetter, you know, his power depends in part, I mean, a lot of it's on money, a lot of it's on political connections, but part of it is on being perceived as somebody who has done good, not just for himself, but for the community. And that's been tarnished right now. And maybe furthering, you know, getting people to further understand why his reputation should be challenged. Maybe that in itself would help move this forward.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of interesting that there is this one narrative of Rastetter as this successful kind of heroic figure who has, you know, become this super wealthy, super successful farmer or agribusinessman, I should say, in terms of, you know, the wealth he has acquired. And but if instead you look at maybe, well, the number of hog farmers that he's driven out of business, or the environmental impact of the agricultural model that he espouses, you know, you can kind of change the narrative. And I think there might be a willingness to kind of like entertain alternative narratives in terms of, you know, you've got, you know, issues of like the 1% and the 99% kind of entering into the sort of the political debate now.
Yeah.
So, you know, now might be the time for, you know, even just on the Iowa State University campus for, as this debate's kind of coming to a head here about, you know, what is the role of Agrosol and Rastetter and Monsanto and Pioneer at the university? Should the College of Agriculture be putting its resources and expertise and great but limited capacity towards the ambitions of, you know, its private sector partners?
Yeah. And I know your particular angle with Food and Water Watch has been on the relationship between the land-grant universities and the private sector. And that's been a major concern in this situation. One thing that I have suggested, I mean, and I, you know, as a former legislator, I could tell you this might be, it might be doable. It could also be a long shot. But what if the Story County delegation, basically 2 or 3 representatives, depending on how you cut it, and a senator or 2, again, depending on how you look at the lines. What if they were to offer legislation that would require an amendment in a budget bill, for example, or in a bill dealing with policy? What if they were to require ISU to respond to public inquiries about their relationship with Agrosol? I mean, that to me seems like a legislative initiative worth pursuing. Do you think it might have some effect?
Yeah, I mean, they are subject to the state records request, but you're suggesting something, you know, above and beyond that.
Well, because they will not respond. You can't get them to dialogue about this. I mean, I mean, I can't remember now. Has there been information that has been requested that they have refused to release?
Well, they did release a lot of emails to an Associated Press reporter.
Right.
And for my report, you know, I will say that they did give me the grant records I requested.
Okay.
And somebody in the communications office did give me some materials, hasn't given me all the materials, but some materials I've requested. So they have been, I'd say, you know, somewhat forthcoming with me in my research.
Okay, so maybe that's not the best angle.
I know what you mean, though. I mean, there's ways you could look at stronger conflict of interest, stronger disclosures, and stronger conflict of interest policies that would it would leave less gray area, you know, in which these kind of scenarios could play out.
Yeah. All right. I mean, and again, beyond the research that you've turned over, that's now getting some discussion. Again, what would you recommend for next steps for people here on the ground in Iowa?
Well, you know, I mean, I know you mentioned that Branstad and Rastetter are really close, but I don't think it hurts to call the governor and let him know how you feel.
Honestly, I'm not sure that would. I mean, it never hurts to do that, but I can't see that having any effect at all. I mean, they're beyond very close. They may have been separated at birth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's other avenues. Like I mentioned before, there might be a separate way to get at the ethics issue on the Board of Regents as a separate entity beyond the Iowa Ethics and Campaign Board. Because they have their own separate policy. There might be an avenue there.
That's an interesting idea. And would the fact that ISU professors continued to be involved on behalf of Agrosol, in this case requesting, the $7 million from the U.S. government for the food program, the Food Progress Program, because of that, would there be an angle that would be presentable to the Board of Regents for review?
I think that's absolutely the case.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the College of Agriculture, which seems like eager and enthusiastic about, formally removing itself from the project, but enthusiastically encouraging its faculty to still participate in what it's calling like an informal or advisory role. But I think what the documents we uncovered show that it's much more than an informal role, and they're not acting just as personal experts. They're using their Iowa State University email addresses. They're presenting themselves or being presented as representatives of Iowa State. The good name of Iowa State appears all over the document. The 200 and some odd documents we got that are given to the USDA.
Yeah.
So I think, this is an issue that could definitely be brought to the Board of Regents and think about stronger disclosure forms, stronger conflict of interest policies, stronger, transparency around consulting.
Yeah. It's good work you're doing, Tim. I appreciate what you've been able to do working, to some extent with Iowa State. I mean, it sounds like you've had better success at getting some cooperation, and I guess partly because you're requesting things that they have to give. What I haven't had luck doing is getting anybody from either the College of Agriculture or the university to be willing to dialogue with me about the issue. I think they're concerned about being unscripted.
Yeah, and if you look at the press stories that have come out over the last year and a half, there does seem to be kind of an evolving narrative from the university about what its role is, what its role was, what it knew when.
Right.
There does seem to be a lack of transparency that, it'd be great if you could get somebody on there.
Is this similar to what you're seeing in other land-grant colleges around the country?
Yeah, it's in no way unique. I mean, I went to the University of Illinois, and I did a close examination of their research grants also and found the same thing. University of California. This is a phenomenon in the face of eroding public support, especially federal support for agriculture research. You see these schools crying poverty and going to industry for money.
Right.
And, the results of that are projects like Agrosol.
Yeah. So, Tim, again, great having you on the program with us. Keep up the good work. If folks want to get in touch with you and with Food and Water Watch, what do they do?
You can go to our website at www.foodandwaterwatch.org. You'll notice on our main landing page there, we've got a prominent link to the RAS that are the most recent Agrosol press release we did with 80-some pages of documents released through the USDA FOIA that we've been discussing.
Great. Tim, thank you so much, and best of luck with your work.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate it.
Folks, I want to also thank one of our other sponsors, Proof Restaurant. Proof is at 13th and Locust, and great lunches, you know that. But do you know about the Thursday and Friday evening suppers? And they have the unique event every month, the second Saturday supper. But every week, Thursday and Friday, one of the best meals I've had in a while at Proof Restaurant a couple weeks ago, cheese board to die for, about 10 different varieties of cheese. And a very affordable price tag on that, too. So, but do not assume you can get in. You should probably make reservations. Proof Restaurant at 13th and Locust. Check out the Thursday and Friday suppers, and also the special event every second Saturday of the month. Looking ahead, tomorrow, Allison Fox with American Prairie will be joining us. We're going to be talking about prairie restoration and the big effort underway in Montana, but we've also got a significant interest in that issue here locally, and it is not an issue without controversy. We'll also talk with Mandy Hillman. Mandy is with Iowa Birth Activists, and we're going to talk about her work and why that's important. On Thursday, Bill McKibben is going to join us. Delighted to have Bill McKibben back on this program. He's with 350.org. He's an author and an activist and has led the charge in many ways on the Keystone Pipeline opposition. and has just done bang-up work with his group on raising the profile of the need to address climate change. Also Thursday, State Senator Rob Hogue and State Representative Dan Kelly in the studio with me. And on Friday, we're going to talk about David Wiggins, whether he wants us to talk about him or not, because it's important to maintain an independent judiciary, and that may not happen if crazy old Bob Vanderplatz gets his way. I want to thank Webcast One Live Studio for hosting this program, and our wonderful producer, Maddie Arrington.
I'm just saying. 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 Ching ching. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Feeling alone? God knows and He understands. Chat now with someone who cares at groundwire.net.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.